We're at the IAS. We're here with Kimberly Smith with ViiV Corporation, and you have been doing some great work at ViiV, but I think before we start with that, we kind of want to talk about the past, present, and then get to the future.
Sure.
But kind of tell us, because you've been there from day one in an area of work.
I'm not quite that old that I've been there from day one, but...
I usually talk about prehistoric days,
that's
but
right.
There were really some grim days in Chicago, which you were located. And I'll let you address that first.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, when I was a resident in the early 90s, and I was a medical student in the late 80s and early 90s, and those were, what we would refer to as the bad old days. I spent, when I would round in the hospital in those days, we had a particular ward where most infectious disease patients, which at that time were mostly HIV-infected patients with AIDS, would be hospitalized. And when I would round overnight, it was not unusual to have at least one person who, passed away overnight. Mm-hmm. And so those were clearly the bad old days. Mm-hmm. And that was when, you were starting to see antiretroviral therapy, but we started with one agent, and then we were using two agents, and only in 1996 did we start to get to the point where we had something resembling modern day. But even then, as you know, the medications, we were taking combinations that required individuals to take pills 3 or 4 times a day. They had to take handfuls of pills. They had to set their clocks to remind them what time to take pills. And then, the choices that people had to make were, can I function normally and be able to live my life normally and do things, or can I take my medication where I'm going to be nauseated all day?
Right.
You
were drinking what tasted something a little bit like gasoline.
Exactly.
Or on a schedule of 5 times a day, religiously.
Right.
Not 5 times a day. What was it, Q8? Is that what?
Yeah, no, I mean that was, so Indinavir back in those days was every 8, and there were other medications that you even had to take more frequently than that. Some of the nukes that were even worse, and so it was a tough time. But that's the only option that people had to survive, was to take those medications, and there were a lot of consequences. And so sort of fast forward to now, the thankful thing is that we have lots of different medications that are much better and much, and I don't want to say easy, but easier, dramatically easier for people to take. And so a lot of people, most people can take, I won't say most, but many people can take 1 pill a day. And that's obviously a major improvement. And so I do think that we've reached a great time. And so now we're at a point where 1 pill a day isn't enough, right? 1 pill a day has to be 1 pill a day with the least possible amount of side effects, both short-term and long-term. So we want people to be able to take their medications and have it feel like they're taking a vitamin, like they don't feel immediately side effects, right. And then we don't have to worry that in the long term they're going to have side effects. And so that's the goal that we're reaching for. Can't say that we're there yet, but I think we're moving closer and closer. And then beyond that, we're looking at is it possible for people to not have to take a pill every day? And so we're looking into long-acting therapy. And so that's one of the things that we presented here this time was the results of the Latte 2 study, which looked at dosing injectable cabotegravir and injectable or long-acting rilpivirine in combination to keep viruses suppressed in individuals who previously had been on oral therapy, switched them over to long-acting, either dosed once a month or once every other month, to see if we could keep their virus suppressed. And we were really excited to share the results. Obviously, we've probably talked about the results already, but 94% of folks on every 2 months and 87% of folks on every month maintain suppression. And in the every month dosing, there were absolutely no individuals who had virologic failure. And so this just says now we can move further in this. And so we've got phase 3 going on with that combination now, completely enrolled. And So we're looking to hopefully in 2019 or 2018, 2019 actually be able to deliver that combination widely. And so I do think that the history is that we created medications that saved people's lives, but they had lots of, you had to, the balance was tough. It was hard. People had to deal with a lot of side effects and consequences of therapy. Now those consequences are being ignored, and I think that's a major improvement.
The thing that I'm mostly encouraging people like yourself, who are people in good positions to do so, is to say the messages that are important for getting people on treatment, because the treatment doesn't work if nobody uses it.
That's absolutely right.
So the people who use it, like you say, that are taking it, are not going to fail. The drug will not fail them. But they have to get the sense that they have to be tested and treated.
Absolutely.
So those that are out there running around thinking that I don't want to know, the old scenario, because then once I know, and all that, it should not be happening, because they're going to, the virus is seeding in their body. We know that no one, even the elite controllers, should be off treatment now, or should be untreated, I should say. So that's
I couldn't agree more. I mean, people should be tested, because the sooner you know and the sooner you go on treatment, when you still have an immune system that's relatively intact, the better off you are. Individuals that go further along, more advanced, have a tougher time. They have to take more medications. They have more side effects. One example, when I talk to the community, I like to use sort of the example of Magic Johnson and Eazy-E. And so young folks know Eazy-E, and actually, since they just had the movie about NWA, a lot of people know about Eazy-E. But so Magic Johnson and Eazy-E were diagnosed with HIV a similar time frame, within a couple of years of each other. And Magic Johnson, now more than 20 years later, is still here with us and healthy and living his life and being a very rich businessman. And Eazy-E died within a few months of his diagnosis. And so that's a big difference. It's a major difference. And so Magic Johnson was fortunate. He was diagnosed when this disease was very early, and he started on treatment. Eazy-E waited until he was sick before he was ever tested, and that was a consequence of that. And so, obviously, early testing is critical.
It really is. And I'm so grateful that we do have a system that is in place to do this, but the messages, I think more messages from people in positions that can make that kind of connection and comparison is really important. So if anybody's watching out there, they can get some credible actors who are in positions to say so, get people treated and get on treatment. It's so important. The message is there, the treatments are there, the benefits are there. And now we have, and the other thing too, that really is so important, the people who are out there who think they don't want to be tested or don't want to be, understand the reality of what they anticipate, is really dangerous for the whole community. Because we talk about community viral load, and we talk about that in San Francisco. They proved that they really worked hard in certain areas that they knew were real problems. They lowered the community viral load, so there was less infections than given in those pilot studies and those cohorts. They learned that those people were not, that area was going to be less infectious.
Sure. I mean, well, we know now that when you go on antiretroviral therapy and you consistently take your medications and your virus is suppressed to undetectable, individuals that have an undetectable viral load, the likelihood of you transmitting is really, basically, you almost want to say nil. Not quite, you can never say absolutely never, but it's pretty close to never. And so, that is a tremendous, wonderful thing. And so I think that one of the biggest challenges in the community is that, there's a lot of stigma, as we know, associated with HIV disease. And so we need to educate the community that, that there's no judgment around having HIV disease. It's something that can be treated. And if you're treated, then your likelihood of passing it on to somebody else goes away. And so you're protecting not only your own life, but also you're really protecting your loved ones and your potential partners. And so
the studies are there to prove that.
Absolutely. So there's every reason to get tested and to really demand treatment. And so that's the progress that's been made is really remarkable, and we want more and more people to take advantage of it.
Do you have anything that you want to say about anything new that's coming through ViiV, or we kind of covered a little bit with the
We talked about the long-acting therapy, and we're excited about that because again, it's innovative. I think the main point is that we talked about sort of the history and the evolution of treatment. We feel like we can do better. We keep making progress, and so we nowadays. The standard has been that people need to be on a 3-drug regimen. We're looking at the question of whether or not everybody needs a three drugs. Maybe some people.
So we'll go back to the days when we had dual therapy.
Right. But the right kind of dual therapy.
With treatment that is actually work.
With treatment that the thing is that in those days we had relatively weak drugs that we were trying to combine. Now we have really potent drugs, and so when you have really potent, really effective drugs, you might not need 3. And so that's what we're testing in some of the studies. And if we can limit the amount of drugs, maybe we can again reduce the amount of side effects and the amount of long-term side effects. And so that's the goal. And so because
you will be on treatment the rest of your life unless we do come up with a therapeutic cure.
That's right. And so we want to minimize drug-related toxicities. And so if we can do that by giving people fewer drugs, that's really where we want to go. As long as there's no compromise. So we want to be able to maintain control of the virus, but minimize the side effects.
Now, your company has established itself as an HIV organization. And some others are. I mean, there's not a lot in the field anymore.
We're the only ones that are 100% focused on HIV.
The only other couple are also in other areas of work. But we did have the work that all the work that BMS did for years. You kind of adopted some of those promising therapies. You put them into your mix, in your portfolio.
Right.
And this is the nice thing about your company is you're looking out there for, grassroots, I should say, pharma that is not really able to carry a drug forward. So
we're committed to bringing new drugs to the market if they meet an unmet need. And so you're right. So BMS had a great discovery unit with a number of assets that were HIV drugs that weren't going to get developed by BMS. They made a decision not to move those forward, and so we were fortunate to be able to acquire that portfolio and a lot of those researchers. And so we're always looking to find what is the next drug that can be a drug that would meet a need that is out there that's not met. And so that means drugs for people who have multi-drug resistant virus that have failed in previous regimens and need a new drug, as well as looking for, again, ways that we can be innovative. Can we create new long-acting drugs like that? And so, we do want to keep moving forward. We don't accept the notion that we can't do better. We keep trying to do better.
And you have your feelers out there looking for whatever out there might be
We're always looking for something that helps to do better.
Well, these conferences are the thing that might show a promise.
You can't even imagine how many meetings we have at this conference.
No, I was envisioning that as you were saying.
We have lots of discussions with with collaborators, and this is an opportunity basically to get people together to think about ways that we can work together to make more progress.
And I think that's the other message that people tend to think, the notion that pharmaceutical companies are very protective, and yes, there's proprietary, but there is this notion, especially in the cure, collaborating.
Absolutely.
Because it's essential. We for the sake of the people that are living with this disease and those that we don't want to be infected by it, we need to be on watch for preventive vaccines, preventive therapies, and also the vaccines that are going to protect from the acquisition. So I think it's really appreciating, our community should appreciate the work that you do is so profound and so unique.
Well, collaboration is a big part of our mission. I mean, we work with other industry partners, we work with government partners, United States government helping to move some projects forward. We work with other governments. I mean, we work with whoever can be a good partner and be able to make progress. And so, one of the biggest projects that we're working on now is actually using long-acting therapy for prevention. And so that's really a public-private partnership between us, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and the NIH of the U.S. government. And so that's a major project to really try to make more evolution in what we can do to prevent, protect people, have other PrEP options. And so collaboration is really a high priority for us.
I look forward to seeing you the next time, because it's always a treat to talk with you and get the sense, and also the messaging that you need to get out, which is really important too as well.
Likewise, Fred, it's always good to see you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.